Well, welcome on in. Hope everybody's having a good one, no matter where you may be. Hope you're having a good day. As you can see, the topic of our discussion today is Boo Carter running out of chances. And I'm Tony Basilio. We're here in the Rainier studio where we do our show each and every day. So it's Monday night as I lay this down. So depending on when you catch it, it's when you catch it, but I appreciate you catching it. First thing I want to say is like and subscribe to us here. We're going to be doing a lot of extra broadcasting and that sort of thing. Um, the Boo Carter stuff's very interesting because yesterday there was all kinds of conversation about him. And there was stuff on social media. Obviously, maybe you might have seen it. And look, people go crazy when this sort of thing happens. I'm going to walk you through what I think has happened here. And look, it is all going to start with the fact that Josh Heupel and his program, they've got a council over there. And Josh Heupel is a huge, and I mean huge culture guy. Huge culture guy. And I love that about him. Um, what you have to understand is that you would say, well, this probably dates back to Nico. No, this goes back further, what we're going to talk about in this video. In fact, why don't we go here? Before Nico, the first distraction was, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, who is that? Who is number 27 on the, you tell me who that is on that video. If you guessed current draft pick, getting ready to start his first NFL camp of your Atlanta Falcons, James Pierce Jr., that would be correct, sir. Look, that is a huge, huge, huge piece to this. Last year, and if you go back to last season, uh, James Pierce Jr., I mean, this might be controversial, me saying this. I've never worried about it one way or another. James Pierce Jr. last year had a season where he was unplugged. And not only was he was unplugged basically from pillar to post. How about that? And so you went from that to the fact that Josh Heupel knows culture is literally all they have. And Heupel understands the whole concept of guarding his culture here in Knoxville. I'm getting to Boo Carter, trust me, because this is where this begins. You know, we began by asking, is Boo Carter, running out of chances? Well, here's the truth about Boo Carter. When we start talking about what's really up with him, and Boo, I don't know either, but I do know this. Boo Carter has had a rather uneven summer. And if you'll remember, this is somebody who has had a time where he kind of flirted around with Colorado, a foot in, foot out, that sort of thing. Tennessee paid him a lot of money to keep him here. And quite frankly, he has not been plugged in this summer. In fact, he's been borderline unplugged. I've been told. And the picture that's painted is one where He's missed some workouts. He's come late to some team stuff. And you have to understand something about Tennessee's current situation and their current setup. And remember, we're back to the fact that Josh Heupel wants to guard his culture. One of the ways he does it is through the power and the magic of his counsel. And in any situation we're talking about, you've got to have guys that run a room. If you're going to have strong leadership on a football team, you've got to have guys that run a room. Now, when we start talking about the council, you have to understand that there are people, the way they set their council up in each class. Heupel doesn't want just team captains as part of this thing, but he's got guys, though, that are leaders. On the screen right now, you see Miles Kitzelman. That's his appearance at SEC Media Days. And then you see Josephs, who really, really was the straw that stirred the drink last year on that defensive line because, well, Pierce drove him crazy, okay? And drove everybody crazy. Drove Rodney Garner crazy. We talked about it in real time last year. And look, I've never been one who's of the belief that, hey, we have to hide from things because the truth is we don't. So let's get to the Boo Carter situation. Boo Carter this summer, as I just told you, has been pretty unplugged. And these two team leaders are sick of it. In fact, that whole council's sick of it. In fact, Josh Heupel has a decision and a ball in his court on what he's going to do with Boo Carter because that council has been vocal toward the head coach, according to people I talked to, that they don't want to see this go on again. And here's the problem at a lot of these places. It's not just here. The problem now that exists in big time college football is that when you get guys that have never experienced the wealth that some of these guys are experiencing and they take their foot off the gas pedal and they miss a meeting and they miss the workouts and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you have a council on your football team and your council conveys to your head coach that they in fact don't want to see a repeat of this, we're back to the first distraction again. They don't want to see a repeat of that. That's what this is about. Now, I understand that some people are saying there's another piece to the Boo Carter thing with something in Chattanooga. We have not been able to confirm nor deny any of that. I have not been, and I've made phone calls, and I can't get to the bottom of any of that. What I can speak on is this. And I understand Brent Hubbs over on VolQuest kind of alluded to the Chattanooga deal. I don't know first about that. I will tell you this. We are right now, middle of next week is Tennessee's media day. SEC media days are in the rearview mirror. And then we're, a week or so away from Tennessee's first practice, depending on when you see this. I'm not saying whether or not Boo Carter is going to be on Tennessee's football team this year. I don't pretend to know that. I am going to tell you this. This thing's real. This is a real situation. This is a real problem. This has become a problem, and it's become a distraction. And one of the reasons why you've heard and read some of the smoke around this thing is because, well, it's got legs and it's worth monitoring. And I felt the need to get down here on a Monday night and kind of share this with you. So as you see this, do us a favor. Like, subscribe. When news breaks out, I'll break in. Here at this page, we're not going to be afraid to share things with you, just like we did when the Nico deal was going on, just like we did when Tennessee was in the transfer portal and they were kicking the tires on Luke Altmaier and a few other guys. And I mean, they didn't get anywhere with those guys, but still, I love having a forum to be able to do this. And so we're going to do that right here on this channel. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, share with your friends, share this video with them. But here's the takeaway. I'm not making predictions on how this is going to go. Does Josh Heupel turn around and suspend our player in question, Boo Carter? I don't know. I don't know what he does. And you can see Boo Carter there. He doesn't know either. You know, he's got both hands outstretched there. And so, Boo, I'm with you. Kind of wish we weren't here tonight, Boo. I really would rather be propping my feet up with my sore back. I'd rather be propping my feet up right now, watching some, like On Patrol Live or something. Bottom line is this. When news breaks out, we'll break in. And with Media Day at Tennessee a week away, Tennessee's got to figure something out. Because the sad thing is, Boo Carter is a guy who, look at him, he could be running out of chances. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, yours truly, Tony Basilio, signing off. Appreciate you being there. Check us out at tclub.team. Be blogging in the morning regarding, on our Tuesday blog, some national quarterback ratings, some other things, or some really interesting stuff out there as well on the NIL front. Matt Norlander wrote an interesting piece that we'll be talking about regarding the SEC and the divvying up of the pie and how these teams are choosing to spend their money. But at any rate, Boo Carter, who is a rather expensive piece, at the end of the day, might just be running out of chances. And we get back to this one more time. This head coach learned something with this young man, I do believe. And Josh Heupel's not a confrontational person. He's not. And maybe he's not confrontational enough. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. When you have strong leadership that these guys have, the guys that run that room do not want to see a repeat of what happened last year. They don't want anybody on that roster that isn't 100% bought in. Because when Nico jumped out, the equation completely changed at Tennessee. The guys that are left, and Adam Sparks was on with us last week. And those of you who don't follow my radio show, I'm now doing this is some classic stuff for me, because now I have a few more things to add, and I'm going to get into it. Adam shared with us that Miles Kitzelman, while the defensive players were making nice with Nico at SEC Media Days, this Kitzelman guy can't stand Nico. I'm soon going to leave you. And you know what? I don't blame him. Now, it takes two to tango. Maybe Tennessee wasn't perfect in the Nico deal. I don't know. But one thing these guys don't want to do is they don't want to go back. This has been a terrific, all hands on deck summer culture-wise, but Boo Carter has been a little off the reservation here. And now the ball's in Josh Heupel's court. What's going to happen with Boo Carter? Check us out at tclub.team. Check us out on your Tony Basilio show. Like and subscribe here on our YouTube channel. And we will talk to you next time. And go ahead and click those notifications next time we drop something for you, because we are going to be doing a few things before the end of the week. In the meantime, I hope it works out for everybody involved. Tennessee they absolutely need dynamic playmakers like this guy with the ball in his hands. I sure hope this kid does not blow his chance, but we don't want any repeats of last year with our distraction back in the summer, because we're keeping it real. We're keeping it real with you. So I want to thank you. I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll come back and we'll do it all over again right here. Thank you. And GBO, thanks.